Let's bring our friend Jayson Stark in from The Athletic as he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Jay, is there a free agent they're not interested in?
Let me think about this. Pedro Florimon, I don't think they're that interested in him.
Well, Patrick Corbin, he's interesting. He's a lefty, kind of like a, probably be like a number 2 type of guy. I mean, how realistic, what kind of fit would that be? Because he's a guy that intrigues me.
Well, if you've been following this saga even today, Mike, Patrick Corbin in Philadelphia with his big photo on the video board in Citizens Bank Park, noticed by an observant fan who then posted it on Twitter. Phillies then confirmed it, and this is the time of year we're at, right? Where even fans, if they notice stuff, can break the big hot stove news. We got to love it. So Patrick Corbin is a guy that they are extremely high on, and why not? Of all the free agent starters out there, he is going to probably command the biggest paycheck. The Phillies are the team with the biggest interest in spending stupid money. They're a perfect match, aren't they?
Sounds like it, but the fact that he's left-handed, was that a strike against him with this team?
No, I think they're specifically looking for left-handed, right?
Absolutely. No, I was kidding. I mean, obviously, Corbin at the top of the rotation, him and Nola would be a great 1-2 punch there. I saw Bumgarner's name. I mean, is he a guy they would, are they just basically doing due diligence on everybody, or do they have some sort of, hey, we really like this guy?
Well, look, they've been waiting for this winter. And this is a winter of incredible opportunity for them. And I've been trying to do the math on how far below the threshold they are. The luxury tax threshold goes to $206 million this year. Baseball Reference projecting that if they kept everybody, which isn't going to happen, by the way, they'd be $114 million. So that would leave them $92 million to play with. There's no team in baseball with the revenue stream that the Phillies have and that much maneuverability below the tax threshold. So, of course, they're in on everybody. The idea is to not spend it all this year because this is a long-term project. But I think the interest in Patrick Corbin might, to some extent, depend on what happens with Harper and Machado. I think it'd be very cool to do a mammoth contract for a free agent hitter and then turn around and give Patrick Corbin, I don't know, it's going to be $100 million plus. They have a lot of different trade chips to trade for a starter if they choose to go that route. So I think it all begins with what happens on the Harper Machado front and flows from there.
Jayson, it's Eitan, and I guess on that notion, we heard talk and rumors during the season about, hey, the Phillies could go after both. And then you mentioned the phrase stupid money, and I'm thinking, well, okay, Harper, Machado, and is much better than or, right?
This is what people wanted, right?
Yes.
I mean, I see no chance the Phillies sign Harper and Machado. But I do see a pretty strong chance that they sign one or the other, and my bet would be Harper. I floated an idea in The Athletic last week that got a lot of attention that you could easily foresee a scenario where they sign Harper this winter and then sign Mike Trout in 2 years or trade for him in a year if the Angels decide they have no choice but to move him, and you'd have Harper and Trout in the same outfield. And, look, I don't know if that can happen, but I do think it reflects their thinking some. To make a big splash and get better this winter, but to save some bullets for next winter and the winter after that. The one thing that I think we all should agree on is they need star power. I had a little tidbit in the Harper-Trout piece that people haven't paid much attention to, but the Phillies were the only team in baseball that did not have a single position player who was worth 2 wins above replacement last year. They were the only team in baseball, and they were the first team in baseball since the 2004 Diamondbacks. You
Wow.
can say that. That team lost 108 games. So it's incredible if they were able to contend with that kind of team, but it's a clear sign of what they need to do next.
Jayson, we know money talks, clearly, especially in the world of Major League Baseball, but how much of a factor, good or bad, does playing for Gabe Kapler have in a guy deciding to play here?
I think it obviously depends on who the guy is. You know, if I really do think that in the case of Harper and Machado, they're looking for the biggest payday. The Phillies are uniquely equipped to just keep piling money until somebody says yes. I think that free agents consider everything. Why wouldn't they? I found myself during the postseason talking to a player on one of those postseason teams who's going to be a free agent, and he was asking me about Gabe Kapler. People are curious about him. Of course they are. I don't know that Gabe is a huge factor in this, but I think he's a factor because everything's a factor.
Talk with Jayson Stark from The Athletic here. And, Jay, you mentioned the other day Paul Goldschmidt, and I guess the reason that deal fell apart is Carlos Santana. But some would ask, why Goldschmidt if your intention is to move Hoskins to first base? I mean, I know Goldschmidt's great, but don't they want to try to get Hoskins to first base?
Well, they do in a perfect world. They need to dramatically upgrade defense, and that would be the reason to move Hoskins to first base. His defensive run saved number this past season was minus 24 in left field. Since Sports Info Solutions has kept track of that stat, that is the second worst figure by any left fielder in all that time. Only Adam Dunn was worse. So that tells you that Rhys Hoskins, hard as he tried, would be a better fit at first base. But the other thing is, if you can't make your defense dramatically better, why don't you make your offense dramatically better? And Paul Goldschmidt would be an incredible fit. The problem is you can't have Hoskins and Goldschmidt and Santana. So
Right.
The Phillies needed to include Carlos Santana in the outgoing package, and that just wasn't going to work.
We're talking with Jayson Stark from The Athletic here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Andrew Miller, Edwin Diaz, back end of the bullpen. Is that something? Diaz is going to be tough. I don't think the Mariners are going to be itching to get rid of him, but Miller is interesting. Obviously had some injury issues.
Yeah, now, Edwin Diaz, the Mariners have told me that they're not really interested in moving a guy like that who's so far away from free agency. It makes no sense to them. But Andrew Miller's a free agent. Zach Britton's a free agent. You could definitely see them here. And, the appeal of Miller, even though he's coming off a rough year with some, very difficult knee issues, is he fits their philosophy. He doesn't care when he pitches. If you want to pitch him just in the ninth inning, okay, you can do that. But you can move him around and pitch him in any spot, in any inning. And, they feel like they can do that with Sir Anthony Dominguez. They're in the school of modern baseball thinkers who don't believe your best relief pitcher should just pitch the ninth inning. And so you can understand the appeal of Andrew Miller. I would think you could get him on a shorter-term deal, and the upside's tremendous. Just there is risk because of the health issues.
What's the thought of where the Giants are with Bumgarner?
It's still really early to say. I've been poking around on that a little bit this week, and Farhan Zaidi just got hired. He's just getting his feet on the ground, and they've got a difficult task on their hands. If you look at the composition of their roster, they're really similar to like the 2012, 13, 14 Phillies, where they have all these veteran players who have won. They've got big contracts. They're not particularly movable. And Bumgarner is a movable part. But, he's not coming off his best year. His value would probably be down a little bit. Might serve them to wait until July and trade him then. I just think it's too early to say. But as I said, if the Phillies are going to sign, say, Bryce Harper, I think they trade for the arm, trade for the left-handed starter. And, that's where Michael Franco's, Cesar Hernandez, and the cast of thousands of of minor league trade chips comes in. So that's why you're hearing them connected with all these different names who are both free agents and trades.
Last year, it was there was guys still, like Arrieta, who were just hanging out still in spring training. There was a lot of guys who just didn't sign. When or do you anticipate something heating up here?
By my calculations, of the top 50 free agents on the list that gets circulated going into the postseason, 2 have signed. One of them didn't really even sign. That was Hyun-Jin Ryu. He just accepted the qualifying offer from the Dodgers.
Right.
Josh Donaldson signed a 1-year deal yesterday. Outside of that, the other 48 guys are all still out there. That tells you all you need to know about Major League free agency. Free agency started, if I remember right, on November 5th. If this were the NBA, Harper and Machado would have signed 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Right, but that's not how it works. Teams found out last year, the longer you wait, the more nervous the free agents get and the better deals you get. So you're going to see a lot of that this year. I think the marquee guys, some of them will sign, but this will be another waiting game. There will be a lot of bodies out there into January, probably into February, and really wouldn't surprise me if the Phillies strike big fairly early and then figure out what else is out there when they get later in the winter.
All right, we'll be keeping our eye on that because it seems like the Phillies are in on just about everybody. Jayson Stark from The Athletic. Great coverage of the Major League Baseball offseason, and he was kind enough to join us here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thank you, Jay.
Always good to talk to you guys.